man claimed to be hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife. The hysterical subject now said that the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile. Hey guys! I am Charlotte the Starlet. These are my girls, Angel and Glitter, and this is my little boy, Seth. Today we are doing a whole new different kind of video. Since I am a mystery/thriller writer and this channel is all about stories, I thought, why don't we take a look at some creepypastas, which are essentially just little horror stories. So get comfortable, get a blanket, maybe a snack, some tea, dim the lights and everything. Like, let's set this up properly and we can look through these together. Plus, unlike the books I do on this channel, I'll actually be able to read all these out fully. Don't gotta worry about no copyright or anything, as far as I know. Anyway, yes, let's jump in. This one is called Gateway of the Mind. In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility. The scientists had theorized that a human without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God. Okay. They believed that the 5 senses clouded our awareness of eternity, and without them, a human could actually establish contact with God by thought. Whoa, imagine. I'm sorry, but would it be worth it? Like, I don't know. It's early. It's early. Let me hold my horses a bit. An elderly man who claims to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. To purge him of all his senses, the scientists performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connection to the brain was surgically severed. Although the test subject retained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. Ooh, I don't like that. This is already creeping me out. With no possible way to communicate with or even sense the outside world, he was alone with his thoughts. So, is it like a worse version of solitary confinement? You're essentially just left with your thoughts in solitary confinement, though you do have all your senses. Scientists monitored him as he spoke aloud about his state of mind in jumbled, slurred sentences that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, the man claimed to be hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Oh no, thank you. Assuming it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to the man's concerns. That's kind of mean. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking with him, and even more, he could communicate back. The scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientists. Oh my days. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses and parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of the scientists left the study. So would I. I definitely would too. After a week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, the subject became distressed, saying that the voices were overwhelming. In every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded by hundreds of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elicit a pain response. He begged the scientists for sedatives so he could escape the voices by sleeping. This tactic worked for 3 days until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. Oh, this sounds like a descent into hell. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and claw at his non-functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world. Oh my days, I'm really feeling bad for this guy. The hysterical subject now said that the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point, he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness," for 5 hours straight. He continually begged to be killed, but the scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. I'm sorry, but if that would be what establishing contact with God was like, I don't know if I'd want it. What do you guys think? After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of flesh from his arm. The scientists rushed into the test chamber and restrained him to a table so he could not kill himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling and screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as teardrops silently streaked across his face. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to the constant crying. Eventually, he turned his head and, despite his blindness, made eye contact with the scientist for the first time in the study. He whispered, "I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us," and his vital signs stopped. There was no apparent cause of death. Oh my days. Oh, I have the shivers. First of all, what he said alone at the very end was creepy enough. But the fact that he died right after that, as a result of who knows what, yeah, nah, that experiment just sounded straight up cruel. Anyway, yeah, that's the end of it. What do you guys think? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give the like button and the notification bell a little kiss, and subscribe to become a Starlet. Don't forget to follow me on Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. And if you want me to do more of these kind of stories, let me know in the comments. But yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye!